Welcome to Stoic Bridge, the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern life, guiding you through life's storms with calm and resilience. Have you ever had that feeling, like a relationship in your life is slowly chipping away at your peace, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth? It's as if no matter what you do, there's always something or someone dragging you down. In today's video, we're diving into 9 unmistakable signs that it's time to cut ties. Yes, even with those you consider close friends or family. Now, take a moment to reflect. Is there someone in your life who makes you feel guilty, constantly judges you, or only seems to value you when you meet their needs? This toxic dynamic is more common than you might think. Marcus Aurelius once wisely stated, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is a powerful reminder that distancing yourself from harmful relationships is not an act of selfishness, but one of self-preservation. It's about protecting your inner peace and standing firm in your self-respect. In this video, we won't just point out these red flags, we'll arm you with the tools to confront them with confidence, free from guilt or hesitation. Stay tuned until the end, where I'll reveal the most subtle, yet incredibly common sign, one that so many of us tend to overlook, and I'll show you exactly how to break free from it once and for all. Before we get started, if you find this message helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. That way, you'll never miss out on the valuable content designed to help you reclaim your peace and strengthen your relationships. Now, let's jump in and begin the journey toward a life of freedom and self-respect. Picking up from where we left off, let's delve deeper into another sign that may be telling you it's time to reevaluate your relationships. Have you ever encountered someone whose first words to you seem to always center around not having enough money? It's easy to feel sympathetic if they are genuinely going through a tough time, but there's often something more at play here. Strangely, these same individuals who claim financial struggles are often the ones leading a surprisingly comfortable lifestyle, enjoying personal indulgences like vacations, expensive hobbies, or leisurely outings. Yet when it comes to you, they suddenly find reasons to bring up their lack of funds as an excuse to avoid responsibilities or obligations. But here's the thing. This isn't about being poor. It's about playing a calculated game. If you've ever been in a similar situation, take a moment to reflect. You might start to notice the pattern, a relationship that feels unbalanced and lacks authenticity. I once had a friend like this. Every time we tried to make plans, his excuse would be that he didn't have enough money. But then I saw him spend freely on his personal pleasures, luxuries, impressing others, without a second thought. It wasn't until one particular trip we had planned that I had a wake-up call. When he backed out once again, claiming financial constraints, I realized it wasn't his inability to pay that was the problem. It was his lack of value for my time and presence. That was the pivotal moment I understood that these kinds of relationships are doomed to fail. They don't thrive on equality, respect, or mutual care. In every relationship, whether it's with friends, family, or a partner, mutual respect, sharing, and support are essential. If you constantly find yourself giving while the other person takes without any effort to reciprocate, the relationship has become unbalanced, and it may begin to feel burdensome for you. Healthy relationships are rooted in fairness, respect, and genuine care. If someone starts to treat you as merely a resource, it's time to set clear boundaries or walk away altogether. Your life is precious, and it deserves to be filled with relationships that uplift, support, and bring true value. Now let's move on and explore another key sign that could be a red flag in your relationships. Picking up from our earlier discussion on unbalanced relationships, let's explore another key red flag that signals it might be time to step away. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship where it feels like every conversation turns into a battleground? This is the reality when you deal with people who constantly seem to argue. These individuals have a unique way of blowing even the smallest issues out of proportion, dragging you into their conflicts and forcing you to choose sides. It's not just about their own lives being consumed by drama. They also drain the peace and harmony from your relationship. Let me share a personal story. I once had a friend like this. On the surface, he appeared confident, but the moment there was any difference in opinion, he would immediately escalate it into a full-blown argument. I vividly remember one occasion during a casual get-together with friends. We were discussing plans for an upcoming trip, and a minor disagreement arose. Instead of brushing it off or finding common ground, he pulled me into the argument, demanding that I take his side in front of everyone. That moment marked a turning point in our friendship. It became crystal clear to me that when someone is always stirring up conflict and pressuring others to choose their side, it's impossible to maintain a balanced and healthy relationship with them. Arguing isn't a sign of strength or intelligence. It's actually a sign of emotional immaturity and insecurity. People who constantly argue not only harm their relationships, but also miss valuable opportunities for personal growth and maturity. A wise individual understands that not every debate needs to be won. Instead, they focus on peace, understanding, and calmly resolving issues. If you find yourself frequently caught in arguments or dragged into unnecessary conflicts, it's time to step back and reflect. Creating a space of calmness and emotional control doesn't just protect your relationships, it also safeguards your inner peace. In life, cultivating harmonious connections and nurturing a peaceful mind are treasures we should all strive to protect. With that in mind, let's move forward and explore another critical sign that could be draining your energy. Building on what we've discussed about unbalanced relationships, let's dive into another crucial sign of toxicity. Third, avoid people who take other people's worries lightly. In the journey of life, each of us carries our own unique burdens. No two struggles, joys, or sorrows are the same, and they hold personal value that can't be measured by any universal standard. Yet one of life's greatest disappointments is when we open up about our own struggles only to meet individuals who either minimize or completely dismiss what we're going through, all while magnifying their own issues. This is more than just a lack of respect. It's a behavior that erodes trust and weakens the very foundation of any relationship. I remember a moment when I confided in a longtime friend about the overwhelming challenge of balancing my work responsibilities while caring for my aging parents. I expected understanding, maybe a little compassion, but instead he quickly brushed aside my concerns and shifted the conversation entirely to his own work pressures, as if my struggles simply didn't exist. That experience didn't just leave me disappointed. It hurt on a deeper level. I came to the painful realization that healthy relationships can only thrive when both people listen to each other, truly value each other's struggles, and offer mutual support. It's essential that we give the same weight and attention to someone else's concerns as we expect for our own. Respect doesn't always come in grand gestures. Often it's reflected in the smallest actions. A simple thank you when someone helps, a heartfelt apology when you've caused harm, or just showing up when someone needs you. These gestures, though seemingly small, form the backbone of meaningful relationships. It's vital to create distance from people who lack this basic level of gratitude, those who can't celebrate your successes or empathize with your pain. A person who takes pleasure in others' suffering lacks true compassion. And that kind of disrespect isn't just toxic, it reveals a chilling indifference toward human connection. While we can't control how others behave, we absolutely have control over the people we choose to keep close. Strive to build relationships based on respect, genuine gratitude, and heartfelt care. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your joy, console you in your sorrow, and wish for your happiness without hesitation. Never let anyone revel in another's suffering, for it not only harms them, it diminishes your own humanity as well. When we live with compassion, we create relationships that are not just beautiful, but deeply meaningful. These connections will enrich your life in ways you never imagined, building a life that's truly worth cherishing. Now let's move on to another important sign that could be affecting your relationships. Continuing from our discussion about respecting one another's struggles, let's now explore another crucial sign to be mindful of in relationships. Fourth, avoid anyone who enforces your religious or political beliefs. We all come from different walks of life, and that is truly the beauty of human connections. The essence of meaningful relationships lies not in forcing our own views on others, but in acknowledging and appreciating the differences that make each of us unique. It's through these differences that we can find common ground and build shared values. However, there are individuals who relentlessly try to impose their religious or political beliefs onto others. This kind of behavior not only drains your energy, but also creates deep divides in relationships that are difficult to mend. I once had a close friend who, over time, became increasingly insistent that his way of life was the only right one. Every conversation with him felt like a challenge to change my beliefs. At first, I engaged in debates, trying to defend my perspective, thinking that maybe a good conversation would lead to mutual understanding. But after every discussion, I felt emotionally drained and exhausted. Over time, I came to realize that these arguments didn't bring us closer. They only pushed us further apart. Arguments that are driven by the need to prove who's right never lead to resolution. Both sides become so fixated on defending their egos that the conversation turns into a battle where neither truly wins. Even if you win the argument, that sense of victory is short-lived, often coming at the cost of someone else's pride or dignity. The real consequence here isn't just the loss of respect. It's the lingering resentment and deep emotional wounds that can stay with you long after the argument ends. Wise people understand that they don't need to argue to prove they're right. Instead, they listen, empathize, and know when it's time to step back. True success in a relationship doesn't come from winning a debate. It comes from overcoming your own ego to foster harmony and understanding. When we let go of the need to always be right, we not only build stronger, more respectful relationships, but we also gain a profound sense of inner peace that no argument can ever provide. If you've made it this far, drop a comment below with the word peacefulness so I can acknowledge you. Let's continue on this journey of learning, growing, and building better lives together. Now let's move forward and explore another important sign in relationships. Continuing from the previous point about enforcing beliefs, let's look at another important sign in relationships. Fifth, if you feel distressed when you meet a friend, it might be time to reconsider that relationship. Have you ever noticed that the friends who once brought you so much joy and laughter now seem distant or even draining? This doesn't necessarily mean you've done something wrong or that they've changed in a negative way. It simply means that life has taken both of you on different paths. Life is constantly evolving, and so are we. Our interests, values, and perspectives naturally shift as we grow, and sometimes relationships that once felt perfectly in sync begin to feel out of tune. I remember a story from a colleague of mine. He talked about a childhood friend with whom he had shared countless unforgettable moments, from going to the movies, playing sports, and dreaming about their futures together. But as time passed, life took them in different directions. One friend moved to a new city, building a career and family, while the other stayed in their hometown, leading a quieter, simpler life. The few times they reconnected felt strangely different. Their conversations became forced, filled with polite questions, and a sense of unfamiliarity lingered between them. My colleague admitted that at first, he tried very hard to maintain the friendship, but the more he tried, the more he realized that they had grown too far apart. They no longer had the connection they once shared. It wasn't that he no longer cared for his friend, but rather that he understood sometimes the best thing to do is to let go. That's when he chose to step back, not out of spite, but out of respect for both their personal growths. Relationships are like a dance. Both partners need to move in harmony. When the rhythm is no longer in sync, both feel awkward, drained, and disconnected. Instead of blaming yourself or the other person, sometimes the wisest thing to do is accept the change. It doesn't mean erasing someone from your life. It's about creating the space for both people to evolve in their own directions. A gentle parting can often be far healthier than forcing a connection that no longer fits. Life changes, and so do relationships. The key is knowing when to hold on and when to move forward. Cherish the beautiful memories, but don't be afraid to let that relationship live on as a cherished chapter from your past. Sometimes letting go isn't just about respecting the other person. It's about respecting yourself too. Now let's continue and explore another important aspect of healthy relationships. Building on our discussion about relationships that drain us, let's look at another important red flag. Sixth, avoid those who continue to complain about themselves. Have you ever felt like an emotional dumpster, a place where someone only comes to dump their sadness, frustration, and endless complaints? It's natural to want to vent and share when you're going through tough times, but that sharing should come from a place of empathy, not selfishness. When someone constantly complains without any regard for your feelings, they aren't seeking a meaningful connection. They're simply using you as a receptacle for their burdens. This doesn't just wear you down. It can pull you into a storm of negative emotions that aren't yours to carry. I recall a friend, Sarah, a former colleague with whom I was once very close. There was a time when my mother became critically ill, and I found myself juggling work while trying to care for her. It was an incredibly difficult period, and I desperately needed emotional support. Yet, every day Sarah would come to me, not to check on me or offer any comfort, but to unload her grievances. I hate this job. My boss is awful. My husband never helps with anything. Even though I was exhausted and emotionally drained, she never once stopped to ask how I was doing. Every time I tried to shift the conversation and talk about my mother's health, she'd quickly pivot right back to her own issues. It felt like I was trapped in an emotional whirlwind, leaving me completely drained and at times guilty for not being able to do more for her. One day, after my mother had undergone major surgery, Sarah called to complain that I hadn't responded to her messages quickly enough. That was the moment I realized I had to set boundaries. I told her, "Sarah, I can't keep doing this. I have too much on my plate right now, and I need the people around me to understand and share the load." There was a long silence on the other end of the phone, and soon after, the distance between us began to grow. It was painful, but I knew I had made the right choice for my own well-being. We need to recognize that not every bit of sadness deserves to be shared, and no one should be expected to serve as another person's emotional dumping ground. Don't allow yourself to become the receptacle for someone else's misery if they're not genuinely seeking a resolution. Learn to listen selectively, establish clear boundaries, and make sure you're spending time with those who truly care about your feelings. Remember, listening is not just about hearing. It's about observing, empathizing, and understanding. Use both your ears and your heart to nurture relationships where both people feel valued and understood. And above all, don't expect too much from others. The world can often be unkind, but you always have the power to choose kindness towards yourself. Now let's move on and explore the next red flag to be aware of in your relationships. Continuing from the previous point about emotional burdens, let's explore another significant sign. 7th, avoid people who take promises lightly or break them easily. Have you ever waited for someone who never showed up, offering only a flimsy excuse, or worse, no explanation at all? How does it feel to realize that in someone's eyes you're not a priority? A promise is not just a casual statement, it's a commitment, a demonstration of respect, trust, and care. The most heartbreaking realization is when someone not only breaks their promises, but also forgets that they ever made them in the first place. This doesn't just erode trust, it makes you feel like an afterthought in their life. I remember sitting at my favorite coffee shop, eagerly waiting for a friend as we had planned. At first, I thought maybe she was running late, stuck in traffic, or caught up with something urgent. But after an hour, I received a message. Totally forgot we had plans today. Sorry. This wasn't the first time it had happened, and that's when I realized that continuing to endure this was only hurting me. She didn't mean to hurt me, but her lack of attention and failure to honor her word spoke volumes. I could no longer ignore the fact that actions speak louder than words. When a relationship becomes an emotional burden, when respect, care, and commitment are no longer at its core, it's time to seriously rethink whether it's worth holding on to. Respecting yourself sometimes means letting go of relationships that no longer add value to your life. A healthy relationship is never built on empty promises or indifference. Listen to your own feelings. You deserve relationships where both sides value each other's time and commitment. If someone cannot give you that respect, don't hesitate to walk away. Every time you say no to someone who doesn't respect you, you're making room for better, more respectful relationships to enter your life. Always remember, you are not only worthy of love, but you're also deserving of respect in both words and actions. With this in mind, let's move on and explore another key sign in relationships that may be draining you. Picking up from our previous discussion on emotional burdens, let's dive into another important relationship red flag. 8th, avoid people who keep talking about the same worries. Have you ever had someone share their worries with you, only to realize they're not really looking for a solution? Instead, they seem to be seeking temporary comfort or validation. It's perfectly natural to want to share our troubles with others and seek empathy. This is a basic human need. However, when someone continually brings up the same issues without any intention of addressing them, or worse, when they dismiss your advice in favor of hearing only what they want to hear, you may begin to notice that this dynamic is no longer helping either of you grow. In fact, it may be keeping both of you stuck. I once had a colleague who would frequently approach me to vent about work. At first, I thought she just needed someone to listen, someone who would understand her frustrations. So I did my best to listen attentively and even offered specific suggestions to help her improve her situation. But time and again, she dismissed my advice and circled back to the same complaints. It became clear that she wasn't really interested in changing her circumstances. She simply wanted validation for her worries, not a solution. One day I decided to take a different approach. I told her, I really value our relationship, but I feel that if we keep going in circles like this, it's not helping either of us. If you genuinely want to improve things, I'm here to help. But that change has to come from you. She didn't take it well, but deep down, I knew I had done the right thing. Listening to others is a beautiful act of kindness, but listening without creating any meaningful progress can drain both of you emotionally. If you truly care about someone, be brave enough to offer honest advice even when it's hard to hear. Lasting friendships aren't based on shallow sympathy. They're built on mutual support and encouragement to help each other grow. Remember, kindness isn't just about providing comfort during difficult times. It's also about helping someone face and overcome their challenges, even if that requires honesty and firmness. By doing so, you're not only helping them, but you're also preserving the integrity of the relationship. Now, let's continue and look at the next crucial sign in healthy relationships. Continuing from our discussion on the importance of meaningful relationships, let's explore another important red flag. Ninth, avoid people who boast excessively. Have you ever encountered someone who always finds a way to bring the conversation back to their glorious past achievements? They recount their accomplishments as if those moments were the only valuable parts of their lives. At first, you might find it interesting or even admire their past success, but over time, you start to realize that these stories are just a facade, a mask they wear to hide a lack of fulfillment or meaning in their present life. This kind of behavior doesn't just make the relationship feel superficial. It highlights their struggle to move forward. I once knew someone who would constantly talk about the prestigious awards he had won years ago. Every time we spoke, he would share every detail of his triumphs, as if they were the only thing that mattered. However, when it came to discussing his current life, he would quickly deflect or completely avoid the topic. It became clear that he was stuck in the past, clinging to old achievements as his sole source of self-worth. The saddest part was that instead of garnering admiration, he ended up pushing people away. We need to understand that constantly boasting about past glories doesn't elevate our worth in the eyes of others. It can actually make the listeners feel undervalued or disconnected. A truly confident and happy individual focuses on the present and doesn't need to flaunt old achievements to prove their value. Let your current life be the most compelling evidence of who you are and what you've accomplished. Humility doesn't just make you more likable, it strengthens your relationships, creating a foundation built on authenticity and mutual respect. As the old saying goes, silence is golden. And those who understand the power of silence and humility are often the most deeply valued individuals in any group or community. Now, I would love to hear about your journey and triumphs. Please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment below to share your story, whether it's your successes or even the challenges you've overcome. If you're not sure what to comment, just type peacefulness to let me know you've completed this session. Your engagement truly helps this community grow as we work toward wisdom and the art of transforming every challenge into an opportunity. I'll leave 2 more videos here for you to continue your personal development journey. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.